No one is left. Every single one of the Knicks' traditional centers is currently on the injury list. Mitchell Robinson may be close to returning, but he's not available yet. And recently, the Knicks lost Karl Anthony Towns to a serious left knee injury. And now, last night, the Knicks lose rookie Ariel Hukporti to a left knee injury as well, too. But here's the thing. That injury was probably made worse after head coach Tom Thibodeau put him back into the game. We're going to break down all of these latest reports today. But before we get started, guys, about 54% of you watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. We are on a mission to try to reach 50,000 subscribers, and we could really use your support. If you enjoy daily Knicks content like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it could really support all the great content that we're creating for you. And now, let's get started. The Knicks lose another center due to injury. Last night's win against the Philadelphia 76ers ranks up there as one of the more uglier wins for the Knicks this season. At one point, New York was up 19 points. We lose that lead late in the fourth quarter, and then it takes Jalen Brunson heroics in order for the Knicks to pull out the victory late down the stretch. The Knicks still need work in terms of their perimeter defense. We allow way too many open threes, and we are still allowing so many players to do whatever they want to do inside. The Knicks' interior defense must get better. And if that's not bad enough, in last night's win, we lose Ariel Hukporti to a serious left knee injury. In his first start of the season, he cannot even finish the game. The Knicks now have one less player on their team due to injury. Shout out to the New York Post for giving us the following information. With Karl Anthony Towns unable to play last night, and again, he was not able to play because Tom Thibodeau put him back into the game against Boston, even though we were down about 18 points. It was a blowout. He had no reason to be back into the game, and because of that, he probably injured his knee even more. So he was not able to play last night against the Philadelphia 76ers. I just wanted to point that out before we continued here. The New York Post continues here by stating, because Towns was unable to play, Ariel Hukporti made his first start of his NBA career for the Knicks, but he couldn't make it through the entire game, departing the Knicks win over the Sixers in the fourth quarter with a sprained left knee. The New York Post continues here by stating, Tom Thibodeau claimed he hadn't spoken to the team's medical staff after the game and offered no update on Ariel Hukporti, who originally appeared to injure the knee in the third quarter in a collision. According to Thibodeau, I thought Ariel gave us good minutes. He's a young guy who's learning and getting better. Each experience, when he plays, you're going to learn something. Hukporti finished the game with 8 points, 2 offensive rebounds, and 1 block shot in 16 minutes played. It's unfortunate for Ariel Hukporti because before he went down, I thought he was playing a very good game. He was very good in getting in transition, getting easy lobs and easy buckets from Josh Hart, from Jalen Brunson. And also, when he was given the ball, he never passed the ball back quickly. He tried to do something with it first. If he couldn't or he was trapped, then he would pass it out. He might have only played 16 minutes, but he was very impressive in the time that he received. He was blocking shots. He was getting rebounds. But can we talk about his defense? He was hounding different players. He was switching on different players. He was staying in front of his man. His scramble defense was very impressive. This is the Hukporti that I want to see each and every game moving forward when he receives time. The Knicks have to develop Hukporti like this off the bench. But unfortunately, like we just spoke about, he suffered a very serious left knee injury during last night's game. And you know what the funny part is? Looking back at Karl Anthony Towns' injury, he suffered a left knee injury as well, too. So they both have that in common. But you know what else they have in common? Tom Thibodeau put them both back in the game when he shouldn't have. Tom Thibodeau put Karl Anthony Towns back into that game against Boston when he shouldn't have. And last night, he put Hukporti back in the game against the Sixers when he shouldn't have, probably making his left knee injury much worse. Shout out to Sports Illustrated for giving us the following information. According to them, the rookie and final pick of the 2024 NBA draft limped up the floor after an early defensive possession in the third quarter and was analyzed by the training staff on the home team's bench. Though Hukporti remained on the bench during the rest of the third period, he continued to walk gingerly while standing. Tom Thibodeau put him back into the game early in the fourth quarter. And then, early on in the fourth, it was clear he could not play. That knee was giving him issues. Then, he went into the locker room early in the stages of the fourth quarter shortly after. Once Hukporti couldn't go, the Knicks chose to put in Precious Achiuwa to handle the Knicks' interior duties as the only player available who could really play the center position. Absolutely insane. I cannot believe this. We are doing this again for another night. I'm making another video like this, talking about another player going into a game that he should have never gone into because he was clearly injured. He was walking, and even while walking, he couldn't walk properly. So you think after seeing that, you should put him back into the game? He couldn't even stay in the game for a minute before he had to check out and go back to the locker room. And who knows how much more damage he did to that knee because he checked into the game. He should have never been in the game in the first place. This was irresponsible by Tom Thibodeau. You don't do this. If you see a player not looking well on the sidelines, not able to go, your first instinct should be, I cannot put that player back out there. I don't know if Thibs checked with medical, but I remember before in the game against Boston, he didn't check with medical for Karl-Anthony Towns. If he didn't do it for Towns, I doubt he did it for Hukporti. He probably put him into the game thinking he's probably okay. And then when he couldn't go and went back to the locker room, he dismissed it. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even ask the medical staff about Hukporti after the game. It's clearly a serious injury. If it wasn't, he wouldn't have been ruled out for the rest of the game. That is irresponsible by Tom Thibodeau. You have to check with medical before you put any players back into the game. Because if you don't, you're risking that player's health. You're risking that player potentially making a small injury a lot worse. We have to make sure we handle this better moving forward. Because if we don't, we're going to have a lot more injuries piling up as we close out the season. And I do not want that to happen. But I am so happy we had Precious Achiuwa active and available for this game. His 4 blocks were so clutch for this team, as well as his elite defense. The more he plays for this team, the more minutes he gets, the better he looks. And I want to mention, I started off this video stating that the Knicks had all of their traditional centers currently on the injury list. Notice I said traditional. That means Towns, who always plays center for this team. Mitchell Robinson, who's not available yet, but may be available soon. And Hukporti, who only plays center for this team. All of them, all of the Knicks' traditional centers, they're currently on the injury list. They're not available now due to different injuries that they're dealing with. Achiuwa is a power forward for this team. That's how the Knicks view him. However, if they need him to play the 5, and last night they needed him because they had no one else, nobody that could play the 5 for New York. That's why they needed to put Achiuwa in that position. And when they did, he thrived. He was getting rebounds, getting block shots, great defense. He might have not been able to score in the ways that we wanted him to score or maybe even needed him to score, but he was still doing the things out there that we needed a center to do. And he's capable of doing that on any given night. We might see him as a power forward. He might see himself as a power forward. The Knicks might see him as that. But when they need him, he's going to be the center for this team. Because when we have no other players on the bench, nobody else to go to, nobody else to choose from, Achiuwa has to be that player. And last night, he was for us. And as he's been getting more time, more significant minutes with this team, he has been balling out. Sometimes it doesn't show on the box score, but it shows if you're watching the game. If you're watching his defense, his ability to switch, his ability to box out, his ability to block shots and get the block in his hands and pass the ball up the court to either a Jalen Brunson, a Josh Hart, a Karl-Anthony Towns. He is that good and only getting better. I think we all know why he was not traded at the deadline, because you're not going to get a player like Achiuwa at the deadline. Nobody available at the deadline would be able to give you what Achiuwa is doing right now. Definitely not at his cost. Look at what he's making per year. He might be an unrestricted free agent after this season, but the Knicks are definitely going to go into the second apron in order to retain him and keep him on this team. Because given the showing that we're seeing right now, each and every game, he is impactful and doing something to help this Knicks team. That means your only true traditional centers on this team are Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns. And yeah, sure, Precious Achiuwa there. You can put him to play the 5 when you need him to. But like I said, doing that makes you have to scramble the roster a little bit because you're still going to need to find somebody to back up OG Anunoby. We have to remember, if we plug in one spot or one hole, another hole is going to open up. And we're going to have to scramble again to fill that one. We cannot continue to do this each and every game or throughout this season. The only way to make this team better is to utilize your bench, develop a second unit, and always go to them. We have a starting 5. It's clear. And we know who that starting 5 is right now. If it changes later, it changes later. But for now, we know who the starting 5 is. Tom Thibodeau needs to do different things with different players. Put them in different situations so they can thrive. Adjustments, they're needed. That's what's going to help this Knicks team go from here to here. I will say it till I'm blue in the face. We have the talent on this team to be considered a championship team. The reason we're not considered legitimate contenders for that championship this season is because we're not playing like championship contenders. Once we change that, everything else changes as well too. But we have to put in the work. We have to make the adjustments and we have to make the changes. It's not only on the players, it's on the coach and the coaching staff as well too. Allowing injured players back into games so they can get injured more is not a recipe for success. And if we continue to do that, come the postseason, we will not have any players left. Start making changes and adjustments now, or we're not going to have the ability to do that come the playoffs. What about you guys? What do you think about the Knicks suffering another injury to another center? This time, Ariel Hukporti. We don't have Mitchell Robinson. We don't have Karl Anthony Towns. And now we don't have Ariel Hukporti. Let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, take care of yourself, your families, and each other. Peace and love.